I'm here with NFL Network's Bucky Brooks, who's officially the Jaguars' new sideline reporter for this upcoming season. Congratulations. You're also going to be calling the preseason games. You excited?
I'm really excited. And look, it's been great to reconnect with an organization that I played with. The memories have been great here. And so now it just kind of fortifies that bond. And so now to be able to see the team throughout the season, to be able to talk about the growth, and actually some of the coaches being former teammates, Doug Peterson, and watching those guys kind of get it going. I'm really excited about what's to come.
What have you thought about Doug Peterson's job so far since taking over the team?
Well, I think the number one thing that he did is he kind of rebuilt the trust between coaches and players. And so, and talking to the guys around the program, they talked about how the practices have been crisp and manageable. They get in and out, getting off the field. And then in talking to Doug, he just talked about having to earn that trust back. Regardless of what happened before, he said the number one thing I got to do is make sure that there's trust between players and coaches, and then coaches and coaches. So we'll see how that plays out on the field.
Speaking of building that trust, he was able to bring in some veteran leaders to kind of help along the way. Guys like Christian Kirk, who have been there, done that, go about things very professionally. What do you think Christian Kirk can bring to the field for the Jaguars this year? Because they definitely could use some help in that wide receiver room.
It's funny you talked about that, because I think the number one thing when you look at Christian, he's a pro. And by pro, I mean, look, he's going to come in and do exactly what is asked, and he's going to be at the right spot on time. And so when you think about young quarterbacks, the best young quarterbacks that have made the big growth from year one to year two have been surrounded by veterans, because it's that trust factor. They know that when I drop back and I'm going to let the ball go, the veteran is going to be there. So when you think about Christian Kirk, Zay Jones, Marvin Jones, those guys will help them. And don't forget about Evan Ingram as well.
And it helps that Christian Kirk played with some guys that will probably end up in the Hall of Fame. Larry Fitzgerald, D-Hop, guys like that he was able to learn from as a young guy. So he knows about helping young players come along. Young player Trevor Lawrence, who's going to need to take a big step this season. Do you think Trevor Lawrence is lined up to kind of take that big second-year leap that a lot of people are hoping he can?
Well, I think so. It's not only the people that are around him. Like, we can talk about the pieces of the puzzle, Marvin Jones and Evan Ingram, Zay Jones, Travis Etienne coming back. But I think a lot of it has to do with the coaching staff. So Doug Peterson played the position of quarterback. He's done a really good job of building a quarterback-friendly scheme. But then you also have Mike McCoy and Press Taylor. And so I believe all those guys are unified in their vision for how the quarterback should play and how the offense should run. I think it's going to make it very, very easy for Trevor. And I think we have seen OTAs in the first part of training camp. He's been crisp and efficient. And I think the number one thing they want this offense to do, particularly in practice, the ball doesn't hit the ground. That high level of efficiency, that standard, is what they expect. And I think you can kind of see it all playing out as the quarterback gets into his second year.
You can kind of tell that a lot of these coaches played in the NFL along the way. One of those guys, Mike Caldwell, taking over the defense, first-time defensive coordinator. What have you seen from Caldwell since he's taken over? I mean, he obviously says he has a love for that inside linebacker position. They got him a young guy in Devin Lloyd, but a lot of high hopes for the versatility and creativity that he's going to bring to that side of the ball.
Well, I think you can see it. The defense has created a lot of chaos at the point of attack. They've done a really good job of creating turnovers. And some of that stems from, look, on that side of the ball, you have a lot of guys that were former players. And so it's not necessarily a mandate that you need to have former players to coach, but there's something different that a former player can do when it comes to relatability, being able to tell people what's about to happen or understanding the challenges that happen between the lines. I think that continues to build that bond and that trust. And when you have good defenses, it's about trust and communication. I think you have that, and they're going to demand that from those veteran leaders that are on that side of the ball.
All right, it's still early, but what do you think this team can do this upcoming season?
Well, look, it is early, but I do believe they will be a very competitive team. I think they're kind of laying in the weeds, but I expect the quarterback's going to have a major jump, and if he plays well on offense, there are enough big bodies and turnover makers on defense to keep this team in. I think it'll be a very, very competitive team this year.
You know what? Competitive is a word we'll take after back-to-back #1 overall picks. Appreciate your time, Bucky.
Thanks for having me.
Good luck.